All right, everybody. Welcome to the Scho-Zone. It's Ryan Schofield coming at you live from my little studio here. Disregard if you can hear an airplane going off in the background. I have my windows open, and well, that's going to kind of segue into one of the topics I plan on discussing today. Scho-Zone's been going on for a couple months now. I'm not really sure where direction it's been heading towards, but it seems that it's going to be, I want it to be like a bit of a sports show, but it turns out it's just going to be me and what I do a little bit, I guess. And one of the big things I've been doing is I've been traveling from ballpark to ballpark as much as I can during the summertime. And I just booked my final trip. This one was a total wild card that honestly has the least amount of planning of anything that have done all summer. I am actually, as I believe I targeted this, yes, or titled this, saying goodbye to Oakland Athletics. I am going to be making my way for the first time ever all the way out to California. And I'm going to be staying in San Francisco, and I'll be going to see a game at Oracle Park. And then I'm also going to be paying my respects, as I kind of I'm going to look at it as, to the Oakland Athletics by visiting the Coliseum, which I'm not going to lie, I was very hesitant of doing until I, really came up with a plan. Like, my most planning I have done is how I'm going to go to the Oakland Coliseum and back and have this least uncomfortable interaction as possible during any point in time in this one. Because, look, I've gone to I've said on some of these trips, I've from a city that's not the greatest aesthetic looking, or, I'm from some crime areas, or I have, through my drinking years, used to find myself walking through some probably less than desirable neighborhoods in some questionable hours of the day. Oakland, I started watching how I go on YouTube. Like, you watch people that have way more subscribers than I do, and they'll all they're doing is just, which got me motivated to doing shit like this. Somebody just driving around a bad neighborhood. People watch that shit like crazy. I'm someone that watches it like crazy. Watching this shit in Oakland, the best way I could describe what I saw of Oakland, and I do not mean this negatively, I'm speaking to the grit of it, I guess I'll say. It looked like the worst streets of Rochester, like the worst section I can think of when I lived in Rochester, only it just never stopped. And it was actually, it's strange with, my perception of Oakland is that, you have the graffiti everywhere, but some of it is really, really, really nice artwork. But the Oakland Coliseum is, and this is one of the things I said about some of the cities I visited, like Minneapolis, which apparently did have some industry, but, I'm from Troy, New York, and there's a lot, it's an old industrial city that, at one point in time, old industrial cities have a different look to them than just, rundown cities, I guess I would say. It has to do with I don't know. It's just my thinking. Oakland, one of its reasons it's in the circumstances it's in, I'm not going to go down the political rabbit hole or anything, but is because it has a lot of industry that left. So they're near the Oakland Coliseum is a lot of the industrial area, which when that shit's not up and running, doesn't look really the greatest, or maybe it is. It just didn't look so good, but that's not what I really cared to talk about as much as I just cared that, I felt importance. How I came up with this one out of nowhere. I strategically use time off from work so I can take the least amount of time off to get the most done. Because, trying to finance this whole little thing on a, trying to do the champagne, dreams on a water budget type thing. Maybe it's not quite water. Maybe it's like Evian water or something, but it's still not champagne. But I had looked at possibly going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati and Toronto was the original intention of the stretch of days I'm going to be going. So I'm going to be going after Labor Day. Cincinnati and Toronto was a little bit of a stretch there. Then I saw also another real wild man one, which was going to involve Atlanta, Tampa, and Miami, but it's going to be a lot of meaningless baseball involved in those, and really, really hot still probably, and was going to be a really rough travel schedule. When I was traveling back from Minneapolis, I did the thing that I always recommend doing. Give yourself some extra time when you travel, because if you want to offer up your seat to get a later flight, they're paying you better than most people are making when they're working their job. So if I got to sit in an airport and play on my phone for 2 hours and someone wants to offer me $350, which was the case, I'm going to do it all day, every day. Turned out they did not need me to do that. But when I got that $350, I just was looking like, what are the cities that are possible to fly to for that? Let's list out how much they cost. I was always under the impression that Oakland and San Francisco are not in town at the same time. But apparently that's a thing again now. Maybe because the A's just don't draw as much, so it's not as much of an issue. But I was always under the impression that they weren't in town at the same time because of the stress on the freeway that they could cause. Maybe that was way back when, I don't know, but that was a rumor I'd at least heard. So I never even considered that because, sometimes when you're an idiot or you hear something incorrectly, you just go on the rest of your life thinking it's true. And I don't know where or who I heard that from. I think I have an idea, but I think I was also drunk too. I could have misheard it. So looking at the schedule, and I saw Oakland, and I just started thinking, something I kind of had entertained the idea of a little bit was that's quite a conquest for this 2024 year of me doing the baseball parks. Just feels like something in general as a baseball fan that is my age, 39 years old, saying that, wow, I could see this Oakland Coliseum for all of its misery. It's a really historic place. I mean, it's known as the worst football and worst baseball stadium, just possibly one of the worst stadiums. And I just described the surrounding areas. Nothing sounds good about it. The only thing that I can go back and think on, though, is that the Oakland Athletics, or just Oakland in general, when you think about it, that was a powerhouse sports city. I mean, they had the Raiders and the Athletics at the same time in the 70s. And the Raiders, or the Athletics, won the most World Series in the 70s. I mean, are they the team of the 70s? I mean, the Reds won considerably more games. I mean, the Reds won a staggering amount of baseball games for an entire decade. I think it was for the 70s, they won like 950 some odd games, but the A's won 3 World Series. So Pete Rose being the man of those 70s Reds teams, what do we care about winning? We care about winning games, or we care about winning rings? I mean, winning games is always good, but winning the last game is usually the best. So, and I say that as a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Don't worry, we'll hit on them. Didn't win a lot of games in 2006, just won the ones that mattered. And that one felt pretty good, and probably not going to be feeling that good for a while, but we're going back to Oakland. But I just always remember my father describing the teams of those 72 to 74 teams of the A's being some of the best teams ever. But the biggest thing that he pointed out to me about them was that they didn't like each other. Guys didn't get along, but evidently baseball is one of those games you can get away with that one. Don't know if you can do that in basketball. Don't know if you can do that in football. Definitely probably can do that in hockey. You really got to really respect and, have each other's back out there, I would think. But some of, just, coming into baseball, for example, for me especially, I just think as a kid, I was fascinated with the A's because they wore white cleats. I always, when you're a kid, and even as an adult, I still believe this, white shoes make you faster than dark shoes. So I always thought they had an advantage. It also helped that they had Ricky Henderson. And I mean, Ricky wasn't really around as much as a kid, but one of the things about me, my very, very first catcher's mitts, because my father, telling me a thing, this isn't meant to be about my father, it's meant to be about the A's, but, I tie a lot of memories to baseball with my father. But the Oakland A's, or for me playing baseball, when it got to the certain age of where pitchers, where kids started pitching, my dad always told me, he's like, the easiest way to guarantee playing time is the catch. And he started telling me stories about his brother, how, volunteer to catch, and you're always going to be guaranteed some playing time. So I went to the X degree of that. I actually got a catcher's mitts, and the catcher's mitt, this is back in the movie I was a kid, you used to have a player's name inside your glove. I had Terry Steinbeck of the Oakland A's. He's in the A's Hall of Fame, I believe. I had his glove going up there. Mark McGwire saved and ruined baseball. I guess, it started a lot with the A's, where, again, living in New York, growing up, I was always waiting to go to Sports Center to see what he did, because usually what the A's did happened so late, it wasn't in the paper. So I would have to actually watch Sports Center to see what he did. And I just remember, the Randy Johnson home run just comes to mind, but the Bash brothers, they were involved in the Earthquake World Series, but, just even in general, again, I went back to the ruining of baseball thing, but the Bash brothers, I was only 3 years old at the time, but I got to imagine if you were into baseball, that was something else. Jose Canseco, first guy to go 40-40, I believe. All that happening with Oakland. Ricky Henderson being a part. I'll go back before Ricky, because Ricky's just somebody that needs his own couple minutes. One of the, I guess the advantage would go to the Reds in this case, but when you think of major, historic all-star game moments, Pete Rose over Ray Fosse is always going to be number one. For old heads, and maybe that's because I spent so much time with old heads, but the Reggie Jackson home run at Tiger Stadium, that's one of the ones that's, they say it could have been, I think I've read things, it could have been a 600-foot home run. It was still going up. It hit the transponder and it bounced back. I think that someone did some weird math, or it bounced all the way almost back out to second base. I don't know, but that ball is just an absolute fucking tank. That was Reggie Jackson doing that. Ricky Henderson, I just need to give a couple minutes to Ricky. Ricky deserves that. And that was me saying that, not something that Ricky said, but I'm sure Ricky said that at some point. I'll just start off with Ricky Henderson of that every story I hear about him, I believe to be true, and I want to be true, because nobody tells any of these Ricky Henderson stories negatively. They just think of the personality. I mean, I was looking back at it. There's a great clip you can find on YouTube here of Harold Reynolds talking about how Ricky got hurt one year and Harold Reynolds won the stolen base crown. And he did it with 60 stolen bases. And as Harold Reynolds says, he gets a phone call from Ricky Henderson. And again, Ricky referring to him in the sub of the third person is a real deal. But apparently Ricky Henderson's call to him was going, 60? You ought to be ashamed. Ricky'd have 60 by the All-Star break. Ricky Henderson is, when you think of the all-time greats in baseball, he's not somebody whose name really jumps up the tongue as much. But I will say that Ricky Henderson, and why I became so infatuated with his career, is he's just a one of one. There is no other Ricky Henderson. I mean, his stolen base numbers, I mean, when we talk about unattainable numbers, even with these changed rules that they have in place, we got excited last year because Acuna got 80 stolen bases. Ricky was stealing 100 and change when it was actually, a real big thing to shut down the run game. Now we're just focused on not giving up home runs, really, for the most part, and a lot of pitchers are, I would say. The ground game was a big deal. I mean, the 80s Cardinals, that's how the Whitey ball, that's how they got about their business was, the stolen base. They weren't hitting balls over the fence. Ricky Henderson, just leaps and bounds above in the stolen base and just the art and the science of it. I mean, 3,000 hits, up until Barry Bonds, was on juice. And I mean, maybe Bonds still breaks that one anyways, but the most walks ever when he retired, at least. Now, what I have to say about that is that it's a little different when Barry Bonds breaks that record, again, because I'm not saying that he broke it because of steroids. It doesn't hurt. But when Barry Bonds got walked, it was not necessarily the worst thing that could happen. Obviously getting him out is the best, but if you limited him to a walk in certain circumstances, I mean, I just think of the Greg Maddux interviews of him saying, Barry Bonds is one of the easiest guys to pitch to. You just don't try to get him out. You got to get 27 outs in a game, and there's easier ways to go about it sometimes. Your son, and the way that, especially towards the end of Barry Bonds' career with the juice, you were fine with walking him. It was just all about, let's not give him anything to hit. Ricky Henderson was the last guy you wanted to walk because Ricky Henderson draws a walk, and now he's on third base. And that was how the A's kind of built themselves up. I mean, just a revolutionary player. And really, I mean, you got to think of the caliber of athlete that he was. When Ricky Henderson was coming up through the ranks, I mean, you wanted to be a baseball player. Baseball was king. Something tells me Ricky could play anything he wanted to play. Something tells me if Ricky was out on the football field, Ricky would be doing just fine. But he was a baseball player, and a damn fucking good one. And again, just all the stories that go out there. I mean, I just like to think of that if Ricky Henderson had played in this era, what it would be like, because all of these guys, that the diva wide receiver in the NFL, I really just think that they're doing a Ricky Henderson impression. But Ricky was not as revered, really, though. It seems that he was awfully liked and respected, or you just understand that that's Ricky. Now, I could definitely understand, given that's the way that I look back at things. I'm sure that's a lot of old white guys were not a big fan of Ricky Henderson, the guys in the stands, but fuck them. I mean, he was fun, young, and exciting. And I would love to see a player like him. I mean, the closest thing we got was that when Billy Hamilton was supposed to, come through and steal bases. Well, yeah, he had all this tremendous speed. Don't get me wrong. And I have some horrible. I mean, Billy Hamilton's involved in one of the worst bad beats I've ever had in person. Fuck you, Aroldis Chapman. Why are you trying to pick off Billy Hamilton in a meaningless game? Unless you have the over, but I had the under. But either way, that just shows that Ricky Henderson, how great he was. I mean, the speed was there, but Billy Hamilton couldn't get on base, couldn't hit. I mean, he could hit a little bit, but he couldn't draw a walk to save his life. People weren't afraid to challenge him. Ricky, crouched down, but he made, very, very small strike sound, which if you were to stand like that, you would think you would sacrifice power, but Ricky was really fucking strong. Ricky still hit a bunch of home runs. Ricky hit a bunch of leadoff home runs. And if I wasn't so concerned that someone would take it the wrong way, I was thinking about getting this shirt to wear to Oakland that said, I learned everything about stealing in Oakland, or I learned everything I know about stealing in Oakland, and it was a picture of Ricky Henderson. I'm just not going to take any chances. So I have to feel like I have to give my respects to the Oakland A's because they are leaving. And the Oakland A's, they started off in Philadelphia. They spent a little time in Kansas City, and they are going to end up spending the most time out of any time so far in Oakland. They're going to do 4 years in Sacramento, I believe. And then who knows what's going on with this Vegas thing. I don't want to go to Sacramento, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going back to Vegas, or definitely don't know if I want to go to Vegas to go to a baseball game. Not sure where I feel about that, just because those are a lot of Vegas used to have a little bit more oomph to it before, everything changed and we'd be able to gamble from our phones. It was a nice destination when I was kind of a broke guy working out of a full service gas station during the middle of winter of Rochester. But everything I can do in Vegas, I can do somewhere else and not have to deal with Vegas. And it seems like that, from what I understand, just ain't the same place. But to go to see a baseball game there, I'm very selective. I mean, it's going to have to, for starters, that place better be inside and the AC better be on full blast. But I don't know if I want to deal with even having the possibility of being in any of those cities during the weather that they're getting there. Like at some point, I'm going to be going to Arizona's ballpark. I am looking for that to be as early in the season as possible. And I mean, I have a free place to stay when I go there, but I just really, 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 I like to sweat, just not when I'm about to go to a ball game. I like to be able to enjoy some ballpark food and not worry about passing out afterwards. But it's overall, I mean, I look at the Oakland A's and the franchise, it is a microcosm of the city of Oakland, and everything about that's just sad because you're going to have there's never going to be a professional sports team in Oakland ever again. I mean, they got someone that's going to be playing in the Coliseum, but I don't know what sport it was. Maybe it was a soccer team or something. But I mean, to think that you had the Raiders and the A's there and what kind of legacy they have on sports. I mean, the black hole started in Oakland. Just like I said, Vita Blue, he had some fun runs, going on there. I mean, some guy, weren't the A's had some drug issues? I think, those were some wild times, those guys living there, because it seemed like a really big blue collar city that now I think it survives on tech a little bit, but I'm not going to go too much into that. I'll assess, things when I go there. That's really what I just want to let everybody know. Just what the next plan is. So I'll be doing some live stuff from San Francisco and Oakland, but I'm going to be keeping it a little bit more low key. And maybe that's just the pussy in me. I think Minneapolis, I never had any concerns about whatsoever. Chicago, I had some, but I did so much planning for that one. This just came on a whim here. So I'm flying into San Fran and then I'll be going to go to Oracle Park to see them play the Diamondbacks. That's a night game there. I'll be watching that game I'll be on my body's going to be so fucked up. Just go in the hour time zone from the past week. I don't know if I ever corrected from, again, with the amount of THC I consume on these trips, that could be an issue with some things. But going to San Francisco, which, speaking of the THC, I'm sure that let's see what the Cali week can put at the test. Which, by the way, I also have one more question I'm going to ask out there for if anybody does come across this and watch this. You can hit this up in the comments or at the email that is scrolling across there or any of the social media handles. I'm staying 2 miles away from an In-N-Out burger. I, as an adult, find it hard to believe I will be impressed by a fast food place. My rules when I'm on the road is I need to eat stuff that I would never be able to eat at home. Not saying I don't eat like the same types of foods, just get it from a place that I would never be able to get it. So when I get a bacon, egg, and cheese in Minneapolis, I got it from a coffee shop that's not available in New York, Caribou Coffee, which I'll never be going to ever again. Not because of anything to do with their products, just really just over Minneapolis and don't want any reminders of them. I guess, Prince and Bob Dylan, that's all you got for you. And then come football season, I'll start gambling again. But when I go to San Francisco, first off, I would think when I went to Minneapolis, I didn't know what their signature food was until I looked it up. I saw it was the Juicy Lucy. And by signature food, if you go to Philly, there's a cheesesteak. If you go to Baltimore, crab cakes are a big deal. Rochester, where I live, the garbage plates, Buffalo, the chicken wing. I know that the rice-a-roni is not really the San Francisco treat. It's just, some clever marketing. But looking through there, the only thing I kind of noticed so far is sourdough bread is apparently a big deal in San Francisco, which, I guess I'll get that for some type of sandwich, but do you have like some type of special sandwich that you guys do out there? I noticed that seafood is a big deal there. Obviously they're catching stuff out of the bay, I guess. Yeah, I could do that. I might do that the first day because I don't want to be flying if I had any questionable seafood the night before. So give me a little time to let any of that pass because I do have to fly back cross country on Friday. It's a rough travel schedule, but I'm doing this on a budget. Like I said, doing it cheap. If you're watching this show, I'm doing this show on a budget. The money that I was going to start sinking into this to maybe give this a little bit of pizzazz and production value, nope, that's going on an airplane in a hotel room. But overall, I'm getting this, playing the travel game the right way, using credits and everything. I'm getting this whole trip done. I'm at like $520, I want to say. And then I got to feed myself and get myself around town, which I'll be doing the BART train station. That's the only time I'm going to spend in Oakland. Okay. I am literally just going from train station to stop at the Coliseum, walking to the Coliseum, which looks like walking into a prison. And then I'll go about my business at the ballpark. I probably could have bought the cheapest seat I wanted to and gone wherever I wanted to based on how things are going in Oakland. I mean, this is going to be a Thursday afternoon game against the Mariners. Maybe because there's only so many games left to get some more, but for all I know, I think school's even in session, which is going to be strange because, I mean, most of the, maybe there'll be some school trips, who knows. But in my earlier part of the season, the only people at the games were really kids on school trips, it seemed like, in some of the parks I went to. I'm looking at Washington, which, by the way, Nationals Park, you might have a reason to be excited. From what I understand about Oakland Coliseum, you may lose your title as the worst ballpark I've ever been to. So, or at least of this year for sure. I mean, when you're younger, I was at Shea Stadium. I'm sure that was pretty bad, but when you're a kid, you don't have any difference to know. Same with when I went to Old Yankee Stadium. Who knows if it really was any nice at all, or, when you're a kid 3 hours away, you get to be that fascinated to see any of this. But again, I'm a little spoiled in the sense, I think of, even people I know who maybe have the time and the money to do what I'm doing. And not that I have a lot of either of those. I'm just making the most out of what I have. Is I have this real cheat code, and I never really intended this to be the reason. I live in the apartment I live in just out of sheer dumb luck. But one nice thing about this, I'm like 2 miles from the airport. I mean, literally, if I needed to be parked at long-term parking right this minute, it's been running for 22 minutes. I would be there with under 32 minutes. Take me less than 10 minutes to get to my car, drive out there, park my car, and start walking towards the gate. That's a real cheat for traveling there, especially with early morning flights, because sometimes I do have the ability to maybe save a couple of bucks if I flew out of Hartford, but I got to drive like 2 some odd hours to get down there, burn the gas to do that, still pay for the parking. I got to be saving a real considerable chunk of change. I'm going to be adding that stress onto there when, again, I can just go. All right. It's awesome. I'm not really chancing so much yet because the way my time off has been working, doing this, some people are trying to time it to get to the airports right as their next flight takes off. The anxiety I've dealt with on the flights on my last trip of literally walking from plane to connecting flights and then plane taking off instantly. I don't necessarily know if I want to, just because I could probably get really pissed off looking at the TSA line, and I just don't need to have any issues with security there. But really looking forward to trying out the Cali weed. Looking forward to, maybe trying out In-N-Out Burger. Somebody drop me a comment, a like, or, send me anything on there. Let me know if that's really that worth it. I just look at comparing it to when Chick-fil-A came around, is that Chick-fil-A is an amazing, well, it was a $5 chicken sandwich. I don't even want to know what it is now, but the first time I had Chick-fil-A, everyone told me it was great. All I could say was it's a $5 chicken sandwich that is above expectations. Really, any good burgers, as long as it's real meat, not the shit that they serve at McDonald's. That's always why I'm hesitant on going to a fast food chain, is that if you give me any real meat, which also the grocery store, holy shit, they're starting to maybe look a little bit not so good there. I'm starting to buy some different stuff for a little bit more because I just feel better about it. That's kind of the trending into nothing, but all of this again has all been inspired by nothing more than, I'm going to wrap on this note, the St. Louis Cardinals, who I'm not rooting. Here's the thing. If they win a game, I'm not going to get upset. That's the way I'm going to phrase this. Am I rooting for them to lose? I certainly do not mind when they lose right now, because again, they were fool's gold during that little stretch in the middle of the season. I never realistically ever considered them. I told everybody that, asked about, do you think they can make a run? No, they were never going to. Just not a good baseball team, and really just not a good organization. And that's going to be one of the things, actually, maybe I can bounce this back a little bit. I am going to San Francisco. I'm still going to wear my Cardinals hat. Again, I'm not wearing an all red hat. I'm not sure if that's blood or gang territory or anything like that. But I'm going to be wearing my white Cardinals hat with the red STL because I have to wear a St. Louis Cardinals hat in every ballpark that I go to. It's just a little thing I have to do. I'm worried about getting shit from Giants fans because of how badly they own us. Or not us. I play on the team, obviously. But I've kind of found funny that this reputation that the Cardinals have as far as always being good in this model organization, I really actually have said that I think that you're really talking about the San Francisco Giants because Giants don't break the bank, and the Giants are the ones that win the titles. Now, the Cardinals, I'm a pretty honest Cardinals fan, and that's why for a better part of a decade, or sometime between the years of 2010 and 2020, I was probably unbearable to be around. Why? Because I thought the Cardinals had some pretty fucking good teams over those years. I don't think that anymore. I don't think that whatsoever. But I would always get it must be nice being a Cardinals fan. And I'm always thinking it must have been nice being a Giants fan when they were winning every other World Series and had a lot of good homegrown talent or just made the savvy moves and just did everything that people accuse the Cardinals of doing for their success. I don't see this team getting better anytime soon, especially under the current regime, which is why I want to see to this, just play this thing out. I said stick the fork in them. I mean, they're 5 games back in the wild card. I said when they were ahead in the wild card, or they were even, just neck and neck, I'm like, they're not as good as any of these teams. And now they're behind teams they're not as good as, and they don't have much time left. 5 games back. They are only 3 games ahead of last place right now. It sounds bad that I would say this, but I don't mind the idea of them finishing in last place because at that point, you can't continue doing the thing which politicians do. Just piss on our back and tell us that it's raining out, where the Cardinals insist that there's a plan and everything's good and yada. No, it's all fucking bullshit. It's all bad. It's been getting away with a formula that was working, and it's not working anymore. Partially because they had the benefit of that they were playing in what I believe to be the weakest division. Well, the Central's in both divisions. We can pretty much just say that they're the weakest, but that NL Central was theirs for the taking for quite a while if they just gave a little bit of a shit. And that was what they were doing. You win your 90 games, you lose in the playoffs. Hey, guys, we tried. And that was all going good. And then until some of us started smarting up and saying, wait, this is all they ever do. And I don't want to blame this on them, but I'm saying that the Goldie Arenado era is over. When you got those 2 guys, you had your cracks at it. 2021 was the best crack at it. And nope, nothing. 2022, I mean, they could have. The 2021 team was the 17-game win streak, and I believe that they went to the you can't. I looked up the numbers from 2022. Goldie, when he won the MVP, and I won $3,000 on having that at 60-1 odds, which was fucking amazing. Goldie and Arenado. Goldie was OPSing 981 and Arenado OPS 891. I don't even know if the 2 of them combined have Goldie's OPS this year. I know that they do, but Arenado might not hit 15 home runs this year. He's at 12 home runs. He's OPSing 7-something, like low 7s, like 712. Yeah, with a 260 batting average, which again, as I said, he was a 260 hitter 2 years ago with all that OPS. So that just shows you how much power is gone from him. It's just, you got to move on from it. Signed a bunch of pitchers this offseason. All the short-term deals are all later on in their careers. I mean, I saw some fucking handle today or something on Facebook today saying the Cardinals getting Lance Lynn back could really help them make this final playoff push. If Lance Lynn is any part of your plans for success in 2024, you have no plan whatsoever. I can't say anymore. This Fetty kid might be okay, but my buddy's at the ballpark right now. He said it was dead as could be there. It was 3-0 last I looked, which, again, like I said, this whole thing started by me going to the Cardinals and the White Sox and seeing them lose 2 out of 3 and them losing 3-0. Again, been to 3 Cardinals games this year. I watched them score 3 runs, and that was all in one game. Saw them in Pittsburgh. Pathetic. Like I said, I would have left that game sooner if I wasn't with people. It was just embarrassing. I have watched teams that weren't – I've just even like there were teams that I want to say 2019 maybe, or it's maybe 2019 this was, where it's like, hey, you're probably not going to win, but just make a run in. They were at least competing down the stretch. All I ask for a baseball team is to be competitive in September. I do not consider this below 500 with the God knows how negative run differential and 5 games back of the wild card, probably 6 at the end of the night. Being competitive. That's what That's something that the Royals used to try to sell their fans probably, or some other fucking low rate franchise. Yes. Does that make me sound like a fucking cocky prick? Yes, the Cardinals did spoil me a little bit because even just that jersey put fear into people, or that people have this mystique of them. I am telling you, I am really looking at a possibility where it could be upmost of 5 years before there's something. I mean, what's the turnaround plan? We can't even figure that one out with Jordan Walker, because Jordan Walker, you know, there's reading a bunch of lovely literature about that this today. Stud prospect last year who starts off on a 17-game hitting streak, who ends up starting, you know, going getting sent down to the minors this year, struggles down there, gets hot, gets called up to the major league club, only to be benched, only to not play. Because you know when you get a hot bat, you just want to sit them. No. They want to make him a platoon hitter. Okay, that's great and all, except for he has reverse splits. He hits righties better than he hits lefties. Now it's turning into, can he be face? Can he have Burleson's spot in the outfield? I guess. Can he hit? Can we just only see him against lefties? You get that motherfucker out there for every fucking possible at bat right now. You're not going to the playoffs this year. You see what you fucking have. I need to stop. I'm not going to let them bother me. But that's where we are with everything in baseball with the Cardinals. Really, just gonna go. I'm kind of a Twins fan at the moment right now. I feel like they give me my best chance to get my best payout for this season. I will be cashing my Marlins under bet anytime soon. I think I may have, or maybe on an early season podcast, may have said something about that. But anyways, I'm really going to start trying to focus on trying to go live more, because at least I get some people watching on those. I don't know if people watch the replays as much, but I'm going to try live videos until I start getting some actual production values into making full-length videos. I keep saying that I'm going to, when I'm on the road, try and maybe splice a bunch of this stuff together. Maybe San Francisco and Oakland's the time to do it, because I'm probably going to actually try to relax on this trip, not do the 40 miles on my legs like I did when I went to Minneapolis in 3 days. But everybody that tuned in, I mean, there was only a couple of people that stopped in while this thing was live. You'll be watching on the replay. It is a little bit later, but anybody, give me a like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Hit me up on all the social medias. And thank you for tuning in and being a part of the Scho-Zone. And until next time, we will see you.